Alright. Where were we? So, we went through the 5 buttons. Next button would be design. Okay. So if you left something up, yeah, you minimized it and you click something else, or that's not how it goes. Click something, click onto this thing, you're like, oh, I can't get to that screen anymore. It is in the little tab down here, but it also, you can also click that back, or you can click something else. If it turn processes, this screen will go back up to the top. So, all right. So this thing is class design. This is what your things are being developed at. This is what your ships are. Remember that thing where we name? This is the class design, class names. So if you want to put something on this, you put there. So yeah, then the hull name. This is the hull. This is the class of the ship. This is the class of ship. What it's called is it's the hull type, even though that matters 0. The class, the ship type, ships in class, the components used in this class, any ordnance or fighters inside this thing, where we assign commanders. You know, again, that like the highest commander is placed on this and the lowest commander is placed on that. How much fuel it can leave with, how much supplies it can leave with. Leave it at 0 if you wanted to have maximum. Priorities, you know, what position in the queue gets. And if, you know, this is where we get the instant build points. On research, if we had research points available, it would list them, I think, here or here. Glossary just tells you what, like this. What does MSP mean? MSP, the storage capacity for maintenance supplies. What are BP going? You know, how much BP it is. Oh, BP is build points, cost of class in minerals and wealth. You know, that's the construction cost. What is TSP? Target cross section. The resolution of the class for purposes of detection by active sensors. It is listed at 248. TH and EM. Thermal signature. Thermal signature with shields. Armor, shields, sensors, damage control. PPV, planetary protection value. You know, this maintenance life. MSP, annual friendly. AFR, IFR. Mu 5. Max repair. Wow. Alright. So, ships. I will click wide view, which will give you stuff that we can put on the ship and stuff that's on the ship. So I can look at those both at the same time, which makes so much sense. Because otherwise, if you look at normal view, you have to go to components and like, oh, that's what's on here. Okay, and then I want to adjust that, and then go back to components. I'm like, okay, I want to adjust that. Wide view. That's what's on the ship. That's what we can put on the ship. So armor rating is important when we're talking about fighting ships. Deployment time is how long the ship be there in terms of months. That's like your general armor rating is going to be about 1 for any ship that isn't military. Explain this part. I have to actually pull up a different document. Here it is. So armor. This is 1 layer of armor. Bop. This is 2 layers of armor. Bop. 3 layers, 4 layers, 5 layers, 6 layers, 7 layers. This is how strong the thing is. So most missiles that I will generate will have a generation of 9. So 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. These are basically prime numbers. 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7. This is how far this will damage into it. So even if it hits like 3, it might not damage too far into the ship. So this is like, hey, we put a hole in the ship. The ship's leaking air. If a military ship had a ship thickness of 2, and we hit it with a 3 missile, with a 9 missile, I should say. When it hits, thunk, thunk, boom. Suddenly you do damage to components. I'm not sure how to basically describe that, but this is what it's like. If you have a 2 missile, let me grab an Excel sheet. When we look at this thing here, 1. So it goes like this. 1 hits, or the power of the missiles of 1, power of missiles of 2, power of missiles of 3. A 3 missile will hit like that. Just go thunk, 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 thunk. Just a flat missile hits the side. When you get a 4, it gets 1 more level of penetration, so it looks like a V now instead of like a pancake. You threw a pancake at it. It's doing a lot more damage to the ship overall, but it's not affecting the internals as much. And I'll build a ship, I'll show you what that... let's build a ship, actually. Let's look at this geosurvey. Got 2 sensors, thermal sensor. This is where I'm like, these ships are horrible. Deployment time, 36. Then deployment 36 months, morale check required. Okay. You got sensors on this, EM sensors. Why the hell does it have an EM sensor? I don't know. Thermal sensors. Mostly thermal sensor to detect planets with populations, or populations on planets, I should say. Never really had an EM sensor. Whatever. So get a miscellaneous. We'll build one of these to the survey fleet. Instant build. Bob. The hunts. Armor status. We can go back here. We can look at the hunt. The hunt has an armor rating of 1. That is how the ship is designed and looks like in terms of armor. So remember, a 1 would hit like 1 here. A 2 would hit here. A 3 would hit here. it would cause a big pancake flat onto the ship that requires that ship to be what's it called? Oh, it just creates a big hole in the ship. Everything in the ship, this stuff, isn't damaged yet. Where that one starts on this whole thing is random. So you can have a missile hit here, a missile hit here, a missile hit here, and a missile hit here. They're causing damage to it, destroying the armor, ripping the armor off. But they're not damaging this stuff. How the ship is still alive at that point, we don't know. But once it gets into here, then, if these three were like gone and the next missile hit here, and with the 3 missile it would hit this thing and then hit this blank thing. So it would not damage the Eternal, I don't think. Or does it? Is it a pancake flat? No, I think it's still a pancake flat, so. People who are more knowledgeable about this will be able to describe this in the comments on YouTube. But my understanding is if it pancakes flats this 3, and then you hit like right here and it's like dangling off this one, this would be wasted, but these 2 would not be wasted. Type of situation. Anyways, that's how armor's done. Deployment rating, build time in years. So how much armor is you can adjust. How long it goes out you can adjust. Build time matters on terms of your BP and what's the other number? Your shipyard rate, which is modified in research. Under logistics? No, it's construction production. Shipbuilding rate. You're currently Storm harvester, neutronium. So what do we have? Duranium, hyduranium, alpha shields. A lot of this stuff for research, I guess. Transport bays. Our George Washington medium tank. Support tank. AA tank. Tank headquarters. Toward artillery. Resupply infantry. Mobile artillery. This is stuff we've researched. We have a quad Wahaz anti-ship missile and a Cancun anti-missile missile. We got some engine types. Good pulse. Active search sensors, missile fire controls, beam fire controls. Anyways, I'm not sure if summaries list that. Anyway, your BP rate by our BP rate's 5.9. This ship requires 5.9 BP. And our current BP, I don't know what it is right now, but that is 1.3 times the current thing. So if we went 509 divided by 1.09. Let's say it's about 400. So 400 times 1.3. 520. Good enough. Or is it like 395? Yeah. It's like 390, I guess, RPP. But this is also developing all the components. So if we had components available, the build time would be less because we're not building those components alongside the ship. So anyways, where are we? So build time, that load time, exact size. So the hull is this, which is the class type. But the class name is Hunt because that is what we chose at the start, where we chose class United Kingdom. That's where we get Hunt from. So if you ever make a new ship class, it'll immediately come off that list type. So anyways, armor rating, I described deployment time. How to describe deployment time? Deployment time is how long the ship can be out before it starts complaining, which then requires a morale check. Every time when the morale check is failed, I think the ship starts to mutiny or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But generally, when the deployment time's up, you want to bring the ship in to the system and then refuel, resupply, basically. Refuel, resupply, and overhaul. When it exceeds deployment time, you overhaul. We can see what the deployment time of the Hunt is if we go to the survey fleet. It's got 100% fuel, 100% maintenance, and has not been deployed. Its morale is good at 100%. Grade and training is yeah, those build up as the game progresses. So this is how fast it can go. This is the armor. The armor thingamajiggers? Look at the fuel harvester here. But anyways, the Hunt has 25 panels, basically, of armor. Look at armor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25. That's what 1 to 25 means. Shields doesn't have any shields on it, so that doesn't matter. Hit to kill. This is basically how many ones it can take before it will just explode. I say basically because, you know, once enough of its internals are hit, it will explode. Sensor 6602. No idea what that means. And then DCR? Damage control rating. How fast it can fix itself. Is it useful as a police vehicle? No. This is how many years it will take before all the maintenance supplies exceed the amount of maintenance failure. Annual failure rate, how likely it is to fail within 1 year. Incremental failure rate, how likely it is to fail at every 30 days, I think it is? Or is it 5 days? I don't remember what the increment is. It feels like 5 days, I would say. Every 5-day tick, how likely it is to just fail. Probably has 1 year. Oh, yeah. So in 1 year, it'll probably use up 11 of its maintenance. In 5 years, it'll probably use up 1.66 of its maintenance. And out of that, that puts us roughly 50, let's say about 12 years worth of maintenance on this thing. No, you got commander control rating, BRG. That refers to the commander type, I believe. BRG. Alright, so that part is explained, I guess. And then we got the engine. If you look here, a 1.288 engine. It's basically that number's applied here. The nuclear pulse engine, EP 1.28 or 128.00. How many are on there? So 2. What kind of power it has. So this is basically that times 2 equals that. Fuel usage, that to that. Something like that. What kind of signature puts off, and how likely it is to explode if the armor is penetrated. Fuel capacity, how much fuel's on this. And with the engine and fuel, this is its range. 1.246 billion kilometers, which means it has 542 days of fuel, which is a little over 2 years. Again, this is a horrible engine. Horrible stuff. And you got engineering spaces, fuel storage, fuel blah. Alright. Then you got your sensor types. You got thermal sensor, you got EM sensor, you got geological sensor. All those numbers are also on here. This stuff. You got EM sensor 1.6. Got one of it, 2 of it. Sensitivity 6, sensitivity 6. Tech strength of 1,000. This is the important number for it. So 1,000, you can detect that at 19.94 kilometers. For both the EM and thermal. And geological survey sensor, it will survey 2 points per hour. Survey ship for auto assignment purposes. I don't think this has any bearing on anything right now. So don't worry about it. The important thing is it's classified as a military vessel. This means that you're going to have to put engineering spaces, you're going to have to worry about MSP, you're going to have to worry about max repair. On the other hand, if you look at the Harvester, it's classified as a commercial vessel. It only needs 1 engineering space, because it has 0 care about any of this. As you notice, MSC 10, max repair 40. I might I don't usually consider, you know, increasing this number, but that would be a case where I'm like, hey, there's something that costs 40 on this. I might want to fix that if this thing ever gets broken or attacked. So if this was in combat, I would probably want the MSP to exceed, you know, I would put more than one engineering space on it, because then that part would matter. If this thing is just going between planet and planet and never being in combat intentionally, I wouldn't worry about it. If it was in combat intentionally, I would worry about, you know, putting more of that stuff on there. The reason you care about like military vessel and civilian commercial vessel is the engine type. I mean, you can put commercial engines on military ships, but when you start getting jump engines on these ships, then you have to go commercial jump engine with commercial jump drive, commercial military jump engine with a military drive engine. Yeah. So engine, military has to match with jump engine, whether it be military or commercial. They have to match, and they have to match both on both sides. So if I'm taking a bunch of military ships through a jump drive engine, through a jump, the commercial engine needs to be on commercial vessel. It has to have a military engine, military jump drive with military ships. On the opposite side, you know, you got commercial engine with commercial drive with commercial ships. I know I repeated that a few times, but that is very important when we get to moving across systems. These things over here matter depending on what things you're doing. If you want to get rid of a ship from this list, I'm looking at all these ships. I'm like, okay, I don't want the Iron Duke anymore. I click obsolete. For fresh tech, you know, if you go out here, click it back in. Oh no, the Iron Duke's no longer there. I can unclick that and now it would always be there. You never really need to look at what the civilians are doing, so you don't really need to click that button. The Collier is basically a civilian ship with a bunch of missiles on it, meant to put those missiles onto missile destroyers or missile ships or missile defense bases. You know, these are missile supply ships. Supply ships, these are maintenance supplies, so MSP. These guys carry a lot of MSP to be put back on other ships based on reasons. Tanker, those are the fuel tankers. Senior CO. You don't really need to click this unless you're putting someone like on a flagship or something like that, or in a big ship. Big ship would kind of want to have like, hey, this is kind of like the flagship, or this is a important type. Put a CO on there. Conscript, the opposite. It's like, these guys are harvesters, make them conscripts. These guys would be the bottom of the bottom. Whoever we found we could reasonably trust on a ship, throw them on there. No armor really only applies to bases and their stations. If you want a ship to be a station instead of a ship, click no armor. New ship class here. Let's say this is a space station, whatever. Victory. Click no armor. Suddenly, it's gone from a high density uranium armor to a structural shell. and it's now been classified as a space station. Space stations are not constructed in shipyards, they are constructed in industry. So now my Victory can be constructed here. Wow. Alright. I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm not going to build any of this stuff. I need to... When we get to actually playing this game, I will construct all this. Alright. So we've gone through the ship design class. Now we're in create projects. So anything, and these design any component. So you have missiles, active sensors, missile fire control, beam fire control, Sea-Wiz, cloaking devices, EM detection sensors, engines, fighter pod bays, Gauss cannons. When there's nothing there, that means you need to develop the tech for it. If you ever make a mistake in the class design and it says like, went here, it's like, I need to take off this engine. Cannot be modified with locked. Unlock design. Can only be unlocked in Space Master mode. Space Master mode is this thing right here. And you go here, unlock design, lock class. Only really do that when you need, this is basically the cheat engine. Do that when things have gone wrong in a certain way. It's a simple way to describe that. These are very particular in terms of what you're trying to design. So we won't design anything right now. Naval organization. First you have your fleet. So if you click a fleet, it'll give you that ship overview. Really only matters when you're looking at the ship particularly. Ship combat. If it has weapons or EMCs, which are electric basic. What is it called? I may not have it yet. In the research sensors. Electronic warfare. Electric countermeasures and electric countermeasures. So basically, you're messing with their electronics and they're mixing with your electronics, and you fight each other with electronics. If you have any targets, if you can see any targets, that's what that one is. A lot of this is mostly covered in combat, but you know, let's build a ship that can combat. Oh, these things are horribly the same. Why do I have all these ships? Alright, ship combat. We got missile fire controls. So you can move these one at a time. Or you can click Assign All and move 1. Wow. Same measure, you have to move the missile type into there. Attention point pad, that's the missiles you generally do not want in point defense. This means anti-missile tech. If you click none, it's not going to be, clear it. So say we have, this defends everything. This is the final line of defense. Same thing, but only if protect itself. So these are for energy type weapons. These are for missiles. You would have these if you had anti-missile missile. So AMM instead of an anti-ship missile, which is ASM. If you had a target, you could drag the target into there. So click Open Fire All. Fire control, open fire control. So this, it'll target everything and release the missile when it's targeted. This will unlock the missile launcher. You generally won't be, shooting at. This is for the ship. This is for classes in the ship. So anything with the Iceranger design, if you assign it if it's in the fleet, you'll get assigned the fleet. Or you can just have the subfleet. We'll get to what a subfleet is in a bit. Assign basically system. Anything in the system will, if you have multiple fleets, you can assign system. Something like that. But generally you go like, click this, open fire fleet at will. And you open your fire control, fire, open fire fleet. Pop, pop. These will get loaded in, get a number, telling you how fast it's going to happen. And then when that number counts at a 0, the ship will fire that missile. And when you're done shooting missiles, you run out of missiles. You clear all targets. You can also auto-assign fire control, which will do a lot of the hard things for you. Only if it can think about it. So if you have like multiple fire controls on a ship, it might mess up with that. Or if you have multiple things to fire from, it might mess with that. So drag it if you need to. Drag this, drag your defense modules if it's necessary. If it's not, generally your anti-ship missiles will not be in point defense. Your anti-missile missiles will be in point defense. Generally 1 per target, unless your targeting is horrible. Potential targets, when it gets in range, it will fire like that. So you can tell the missile has this much range. So if it fires from here to there, it'll have, you can fire to anything in this area. So if the target's here and this is here, it'll fire on it, basically. It'll course correct roughly. I say roughly because Alright, so where are we on? Ship combat. Admin command. It's more important when you're in admins. This allows you to nest things. When you're starting the game, you don't really nest that much, so you don't really worry about it. But eventually you are going to start moving things around. You got your general, you know, your everyday everything type. You got your naval, which is going to be your more battle-oriented stuff. So create an admin. We're just going to call it naval. Boom, we have a naval one. And then we just drag the fleet in there. Boom, done. Patrol, you know, those things are more for like planetary defense type things. Survey. Now if we had survey ships like there, put that under there. Training. You know, nest that under your naval. But that's basically going to allow this ship to do some naval exercises and get its training up, its grade up, all that done. Logistics, you know. Logistics is basically, you know, your stuff that gets moved around. So your cargo, your colony, your ship fleet, those are probably going to be in your logistics. This would be a good like basic breakdown. You know, your general, that's going to handle everything. Logistics under that, naval under that, survey under that. You put your cargo fleets like that. Battle fleet under there. Training, you know, under your naval, because that's the only place they really need to be. I mean, you could put it there in your general thing, but you're going to forget about it, or you're going to be like, I don't really care about it. And if you mess up on any of these, you can click it back, like, oh, training. Oh, I meant that make that an industrial. You can update the command like that. Wow. Pretty easy on that. This is, you know, what it does and what this would be important in terms of your commander, which we'll get to in a bit. This is designing missiles. I use a mod application to help me design a missile like this. Generally, I think it's like engine power like 300, engine size like 3, warhead strength like. You want your warhead strength to be a number and the value to be 9 in general. Yeah. Your missile size is going to be about 6. Your warhead size is going to be 9, which is where that comes from. Everything about 6 will be added into here. Blah 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 blah. Boom. Alright. We designed a 6 missile with a warhead 9. Travels about that. Blah blah blah. Great. That is the basic way to create a missile. I would definitely use like charts and other things. Like I use this application called I'm not sure what it's called. I think it's like Iceranger's Aurora 4X missile and ship optimizer. You know, this is the current build for it. You got this. Like, okay, so where I usually go. That's there. Okay. 4. Levitated pit. Missile agility. Port 8. Engine power. Wait, 4? Here go to pulse, okay. Fuel efficiency, 1. Maximum engine power boost, 2. Minimum engine power, doesn't really matter. Like, optimize. Ooh, it's not really a good missile. It's a 6-9 missile name. Blah. It was a little better than this. There. Missile size, all that. You know, tells you your engine size. Bot needs to be there. Your engine power needs to be there. Your engine power boost. Actually, warhead size 1.5. So that'd go right there. Your fuel number go right there. Your agility number goes right there. So you'd mess with engine power, engine size, warhead strength, fuel capacity, and agility. Those are your 5 main things when designing a missile. Oh, the power boost is probably what really hurt it. Yeah. Anyways. That's a way to figure that out. I believe there was something else to figure out on that, but I'm going to I'll look at my... If you look at my notes, that will explain where, you know, I got that basic information for. But then again, and then we got turrets. If you got, what are they called? Got like a Gauss cannon or something. Got cannons, lasers, Gauss cannons. You know, things you can put on a turret. So our turret tracking speed's 2000, our fire control is that. So we want to adjust that to 2. Because that is how fast it's going to fire. Regardless of, you know, how many things we put on it. This is our limitation on tech. Turret armor strength, you probably want about 3. If you want 1 barrel, 2 barrels, 3 barrels, 4 barrels. That's the difference there. You want to put a company name. Yeah. That's turret design. I didn't really go into research project. So this is the company name. So you're just going to automatically put whatever company you want. You can put a name, you can random name. This is what the component's called. These are all the little things. So you don't really this is very particular on what you're looking for. But with missiles, choose the base for it, but you have to So I designed this. That is that. Design it, you create it, you researched it, now you can build a turret around it. Build it into a turret design. All you have to do is that, and then each one of these, create or prototype. If you prototype it, that is only going to show up in the Ship design if you click the prototype button. Right there. Like boom. Gauss cannons. Now I have a prototype version right there. You can put it on there to look at what it looks like. If you're not completely sure on the tech, prototype it, look at it, and if you like the prototype, you go research prototype. Otherwise, you can just click obsolete component if you hate it. It's like, oh shit, this is horrible. I'm never want to see it. Bah. Done. Never worry about it again. Ground forces. Oof. Alright, I think I'll take a little break here. I will be right back. I will see you guys in a bit.